Hey everyone, my name is Alicia Stevenson, and this is the first discussion for the class on the Revolutionary War. For this assignment, I chose James Byrd's Sacred Scripture, Sacred War, the Bible, and the American Revolution. And I selected chapter 4, which is titled, Teacheth My Hands to War and My Fingers to Fight, David's Revolutionary Heroism. In chapter 4, James Byrd details the popularity of the character of David in the period from the French and Indian War through the Revolutionary War. He details how David was a picture of strength and humility, that he was an important figure that served as an example to colonial life and what they were trying to achieve with the revolution. Byrd asserts that war sermons highlighted the story of David and Goliath more than any other story from David's life. He uses the most notable example of Jonathan Edwards that used the David and Goliath metaphor in 1755. Byrd argued preachers used the story to get colonists to see their pursuit of freedom as God's providence. Beyond that, the David and Goliath story acknowledged the military realities faced by the Continental Army against the British Empire. When you consider the vastness of the British Empire and how small not only the numbers of the Continental Army, but just that you're talking about one small area of people against an entire empire. And so it really was viewed as that David and Goliath kind of fight. Melvin B. Indy Jr.'s work, Just War, Holy War, and Millennialism in Revolutionary America, expands on the biblical arguments used to garner support for the war. While Byrd argues more for sermons using political argument in Scripture, a comparison of Holy War and Just War, and how interpretations of the religiosity of the Revolutionary War and the revolutionary ideas have changed as more secular approaches to history have become more popular. So Indy kind of looks at things and says, these things are there, and clearly Scripture was used a lot to justify the war, to justify this fight, and that it was really about destiny, and that this has kind of changed when secular history has become more the focus, where they try to weed out all of the religious undertones to a lot of things in favor of kind of that separation between religious matters and history. But, history's not in a bubble, so that was kind of the argument that was being made in this article. Christopher Pearl's work, Pulpits of Revolution, details the impact the pulpit had on the revolution and the spread of its support throughout the colonies. He mentions depictions of David as a servant to his people, not just a ruler. They pinpointed David as a rarity and why a king was full of shortcomings. David in their sermons is pictured as someone who served his people versus ruling his people, and that because of that rarity and the frailty and the imperfection, that you really don't want a king. You want limited power of your ruler. Overall, David and other biblical points were used by ministers and laity alike to justify the American Revolution. While secular historians often try to argue against this fact, the overall Christian society of the colonies used their faith in all aspects of life and had an impact on revolutionary ideas and the pursuit of freedom. Thank you.